I'm back from Gen Con, and that convention is always equally parts fun and exhausting. You know, it's fun to see all of the games, but there are a lot of games, and you just can't get through everything. I mean, I spent all 4 days there, and I still feel like I missed things. I still, see other people post something, and I'm like, man, I didn't even make it to that booth. How is that possible? So this is by no means a exhaustive list, but I was there the whole time and I saw a lot of great things. I'm not going to go over some games that I've already gone over on my channel that were hits of the convention. For instance, Acropolis, that got a lot of talk at the convention, rightfully so, but I already gave that an award from Origins Game Fair. I called it my best surprise of the convention at Origins. Another game that was a real hit of Gen Con was Cat in a Box from Bezier Games. Well, I gave that my most innovative game at Origins Game Fair. So instead of covering some of those games that were really awesome that are already available, that are out now for you to get, I wanted to do a video about the top 10 games that I saw there that will be coming up soon. These are games that aren't actually released yet, but you'll be able to get them in the next, 6 months or so, somewhere in that range. So these are the top 10 upcoming games that I saw at Gen Con. I'm starting off with an honorable mention, an 11th game, if you will, because this is my video and I can do whatever I want, okay? My 11th game, my honorable mention game, is the Tesseract from Smirk and Laughter Games, Smirk and Dagger Games. And the reason why this one is my honorable mention and not in the top 10 is I don't know that much about it. I got to see it, but I did not get to sit down and demo it. But man, does it look cool. If table presence was the only thing you were interested in about games, well then this would be number one, because the table presence is amazing. There are 64 dice up on this platform, and it is a cooperative dice manipulation game for 1 to 4 players. You are trying to remove dice cubes to place them in your individual labs, transfer them as needed to others, adjust the cubes' values, and to isolate the cubes into the containment matrix, neutralizing them. And if we are not successful in isolating the cubes into the containment matrix, well then we lose. And we don't want that, because we play games to win and have fun, but also win, okay? This is a cooperative game and it looks awesome on the table. Tesseract will be coming to Kickstarter in October or November, something around there. So check it out. It's most likely October, but you know how things go these days. All right, number 10 for me of games that are coming out soon is Birdwatcher from Oni Games and Renegade Game Studios. I've talked to a lot of people on TikTok and things like that are like, man, I really wanted to get into Wingspan, but it's just a little too complex for me. I wish there was a game about birds that wasn't, didn't have as many rules. Well, Birdwatcher is that game. This is a game about birds with beautiful artwork of birds that is not quite as complex as Wingspan. Wingspan is a great game, but I'm shocked that it's gotten as popular as it is, because it's not a game that I can teach to my mom. There's way too much going on for her, but I might be able to teach Birdwatcher to her, In this game, you are recruiting birds into your own tree, you are startling birds away, you're collecting sets, you're getting points for different types of birds that you've recruited throughout the game. So, again, it's a beautiful game about birds, but you can play it in more like 30 to 40 minutes, something like that. So it involves set collection, hand management, and this one's all cards. There's no, adorable eggs, but, it's still a fun game. All right, number 9, I have Galileo Project from Sorry We Are French and Hachette Games. This is set 30 years after the events of Ganymede. Ganymede was a game that came out several years ago, and this is almost like the sequel, I guess. But it is a standalone game. You don't have to know anything about Ganymede or have played it or anything like that to enjoy this game. I mean, one of the things I'll say about Galileo Project, it looks amazing in terms of like the color scheme and the art and stuff like that. It's also an engine building game with combo effects. You can create all these like cascading combo effects, and boy, I love combo effects. There is nothing that gets me juiced more than things getting me things that get me more things that get me all the things. I feel like a god. I just love that in games when they combine, you know, cascading combos and stuff. One of the interesting things about Galileo Project is there are two different tracks. In the theme of the game, humans are both inhabiting Earth and Mars at this point, and there's a track for Earth and a track for Mars, but you can't be on both at the same time. And cards will have an Earth effect and a Mars effect. So like, which track do you go on and what do you need to use? Like that's it's an interesting mechanism that I haven't really seen before. And it's hard to switch back and forth from the tracks. So, you know, once you've committed to something, you're kind of stuck for a little while on that track. And so this is a game that plays in about an hour, so it's one of those games that has a lot of strategy and choices but isn't crazy long to play. Plays 2 to 4 players. In number 8, oh, and sorry, I don't think I said it about Birdwatcher either. Birdwatcher is coming out, like, it was already on Kickstarter and it's coming to retail in October, and Galileo Project is a direct to retail in October. Wasn't on any crowdfunding stuff, so it'll be direct to retail in October. All right, number 8, we have Shake That City from AEG. This is a game that is another game with pretty fun table presence because it literally has a shaker and you are shaking this and then pressing it down and it leaves a pattern of cubes. And those cubes will determine what type of tiles you can take and put onto your board. You know, so if there is, you know, a red, and a red here, well then you can put red and a red and a red tile onto your board. It kind of feels like Tiny Towns, but more variable because the shaking changes stuff. And all the different tiles you put onto your town, you're building up your city, and all of your the tiles will score you points in different ways. Roads score you different ways than houses score you, that score you factories, all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of different variability in the scoring. This one takes about 30 minutes to play and plays 1 to 4 players, and you know, it's just fun to like shake that thing and push it out, and it has that excitement factor of like, what's it gonna be? I hope it's a pattern I can use. In the game, one person, the active player, gets to use one set of colors, gets to use one color of cubes, and then everybody else can choose any of the other colored cubes. Shake That City comes to Kickstarter in late October or November, so check that out on Kickstarter, coming up soon. Number 7, I have Last Light from Gray Fox Games. One of the things is, you know, as a gamer, my patience level for a game is, you know, about 2 hours. I don't play a lot of games that take more than 2 hours. If I have 6 hours to play a game, I'd rather play 3 games over that 6 hours than one game for 6 hours. And so because of that, I haven't played a ton of 4X games where you were exploring and conquering and excavating, all that sort of stuff. I haven't played a lot of those types of games because those games are oftentimes pretty long games and I just don't have the patience or the interest to jump into them. Well, Last Light is notable because it is a 4X game that takes like an hour to play. And the designer, Roy Cannaday of Dice Tower fame, that was his goal with the game. You know, he really wanted to make a 4X feeling game, a bigger epic game that you could play very quickly. And part of the way he accomplished that is there's a ton of simultaneous play in the game. We're all picking cards, we're playing cards, we're revealing our cards at the same time, we're moving our spaceships around at the same time. You have different size spaceships, you have small, medium, and large ones that can do different things for you, and the theme of the game is really cool. You are alien factions that have basically congregated around a fading star, and you're trying to collect the last light from this fading star. And I love that space theme. So, if you want a 4X game that can play in an hour, this is one of the first ones out there like that. Last Light was already on GameFound, but it will come out in March 2023. It will have a retail release, and so you'll be able to get it in March 2023, not that long away. Number 6 here, I have Hoplomachus Victorum, or just Victorum if you want, from Chip Theory Games. This is another game that was already on Kickstarter. It's going to be delivering to backers in October and then will be available for a wider release in November. This is a solo-only game, and I got a chance to sit down and really play through a bunch. Not a bunch, because there's a lot of content in the game, but I got to sit down for a couple of hours and work through some of the game, and it's pretty epic. I mean, if you know anything about Chip Theory Games, all of their games are epic, and so that's not saying that much, but this one is awesome. Like I said, it's a solo player game, and there is a ton of content in the game. There is a bunch of campaigns. If you like solo games, this will keep you busy for a long time. There is a lot to play through. Now, you could totally play this. They bill it as a solo-only game, but you definitely could play it with 2 players. It's just that you guys got to make decisions together on what's going on. You'll be controlling the same pieces. You don't have your own characters or anything like that. But definitely you can play it with 2 players and make decisions together. Each scenario in the game, each sort of battle takes about 90 minutes, but then, like I said, there's a ton more content you can play through. It's all about combat. You versus the bad guys in the game. You are fighting a bunch. Thematically, the year is AD 79, and seers have learned that the imminent eruption of Mount Vesuvius and those versed in the mystic arts have made invocations to stop the calamity from claiming thousands of lives. However, these actions have angered Pluto, god of the underworld, who vows to usher in even greater destruction unless the Earth's strongest champions accomplish a series of tasks in the realm of grueling combat. So like I said, game's all about combat. You were fighting against Pluto and his minions. So fight it up and play Victorum. Number 5 is Bigfoot Roll and Smash from XYZ Game Labs. This comes out direct to retail in November. It literally is the old Bigfoot monster truck. This is a monster truck rally, but at its core, it's a programming game. And one of the things that surprised me, a lot more strategy than I was expecting in this type of a game. It is a real puzzle. You're rolling dice, and the dice are big monster truck wheels, which is awesome. I love it so much. They might be my favorite dice of all time. So you're rolling your monster truck wheels, and that's going to determine how many special cards you get, how many movement points you have, all of that sort of stuff. And then you're essentially just trying to plan out the route for your monster truck. If you jump over this, it's going to be a certain amount of points. If you spin and do a donut, it's going to do a certain amount of points. If you crush this, it's going to be a certain amount of points. So you're just trying to build the puzzle after you roll the dice. You know what you have the ability to buy and do, and then how do you maximize the points that you're going to make. Again, it's a real puzzle to figure out how you're going to program your monster truck, and yet the game only takes about 20 minutes to play. It's very quick. It's essentially 2 rounds. We're each rolling dice, we're programming our stuff, we're running our program, and then we're all doing that one more time. So it moves really quickly. I saw a lot of people at Gen Con playing it over and over because it was a really interesting puzzle to figure out. You know, people would play it the first time and score like in the 40 points and then be like, no, I can do better. And then by the fifth or sixth game, they're scoring 80 points while they're playing it. So, you know, if you like puzzly games, then definitely check out Bigfoot Roll and Smash. Number 4, I have Heroes of Barcadia from Roll a Crit. The Kickstarter for this has already happened, and it will be fulfilling to backers in September, but there will be a retail version in November or December, so it will be available for a wider release. This is a dungeon crawl game, but it is a silly, wacky dungeon crawl game, and part of the way you know that's true is it has a liquid life system, a liquid health system. So it's meant as a drinking game, but you don't have to drink to play it. You can fill your glass with water or lemonade or something else. But, you know, I think they originally designed it as like a beer game. You are filling a pint glass with beer, and when you take damage, you have to sip part of your drink, and there are marks on the glass that are your health points. And so that's a pretty innovative, fun system. You know, it's a very social game. It is a competitive game. You are moving around these tiles, and different tiles are coming up, and you are fighting monsters and getting getting victory points by fighting different monsters. But it's all meant in a very silly way. You know, there's a ton of puns in the game. Like, it definitely doesn't take itself serious. So if you want like a nerdy drinking game, then I feel like Heroes of Barcadia is probably the best thing out there for that, you know? This for me is like, when I wanted like a nerdy kind of drinking game, I played Red Dragon Inn, but now I'm definitely excited to check out Heroes of Barcadia. Number 3, I have Spaceship Unity from Pegasus Spiele. This is a game that people are either going to love or hate. It is not going to be for everybody. But if I was giving like a most innovative award from Gen Con, this would be my most innovative game there. And they didn't have it set up, so I don't have like a ton of B-roll or anything like that. But essentially the way the game works is you are turning your own house into a spaceship. You are playing through a story game. This is a very story-driven game, but it's about using the things around you. Oh, you need some thrusters, you know, for your spaceship? Well, you know what our thrusters are going to be? Our thrusters are going to be, you know, you turning on the fan on the oven. You got to turn the fan on and off to get the thrusters moving. Oh, you need a shield for your spacecraft? Well, do something with the blinds, you know, on your window. That's now your shield. And so I just love that idea of involving the space around you. Again, you know what I mean, where it's not for everybody. This is definitely a game where you are going to be getting up, you are going to be standing up, you are going to be doing things. But I feel like that's so great for the right group of friends or family. You know, it gets everybody active, and it really does involve you cooperatively as much as it can. I just... You know, and again, like I said, it is a story game. So there are 5 episodes, and each episode is approximately 90 pages and includes 300 story cards. And each of those episodes has several chapters that contain branching content and different endings based on your performance in the missions. So there's not really any winning and losing. It's just about doing this fun activity together and being creative with your surroundings. I think it sounds super unique, Spaceship Unity. That one is going to be an Essen release, but it'll be here in North America probably in November. Number 2, I have Dawn of Ulos, or Ulos, from Thunderworks Games. So in this, you are investing in and pitting factions against each other to influence their rise and fall. So there are there's a bunch of area on the board, and different factions will be coming out and controlling different areas, and you can add tiles to make areas bigger and things like that. But one of the interesting things is you are not controlling any of the factions. You know, in a lot of games, it's like, I've got my faction, I'm putting it out here, I'm fighting your faction, I'm trying to control the area. That's how the combat works. Well, in this game, you aren't actually controlling any factions. Factions are getting put onto the board, and then there is going to be a time where two factions fight each other, and you are betting on who you think is going to win. You are going to bet on who you think will have more control. And players can play cards that influence how much of a unit there is, but you could be bluffing. You could be putting a card out there making people think that you're trying to make this one faction stronger, when in fact you're doing the opposite, and then you're betting on what faction is going to control areas and stuff like that. So it feels like a really unique take on that sort of area control, area majority thing. I love betting games anyways, because I think there's an excitement level to it where it's just like, oh, I love the intrigue. Who's gonna win? I don't know. Hopefully I'm right. You know, I can't gamble in real life. I got no money to lose, so I like the idea of this sort of, you know, push your luck gambling aspect in a board game. So that Dawn of Ulos comes to Kickstarter in September, so it will be coming out very soon. And then my number one here of the games coming out from Gen Con was Clank Catacombs. I got to sit down and play a full game of this, and man, is it so good. If you like Clank, you will love this game. If you've never played Clank, you will love this game. If you've never heard of Clank, you will love this game, okay? It's just that good, you know? It takes all the things you love about Clank, where you are moving into a dungeon and collecting stuff and trying to, there's a push your luck aspect where the deeper you go into the dungeon, the better stuff you can get, but you might not make it back out alive. The dragon's gonna wake up and burn you to a crisp. Well, this includes all of that stuff. It doesn't lose that stuff, but it makes it like a dungeon crawl type of board. There is no big board anymore. Instead, you are revealing tiles as you go, and the board is going to be different every time you play the game. I love that aspect of it. You know, it makes the game feel so much more replayable than the original Clank was, because it's always going to be different. It does add some new things to the game too. It's not just the modular board. You know, there are ghosts, and once they're disturbed, they may haunt you to death. Now there are portals. They can transport you all around the dungeon to different depths. There are way shrines that offer vast riches to intrepid explorers. There are prisoners that need you to free them that can get you special benefits if you free them. There's a lot of new content, and it's a really, really fun game. It's another one of those ones that has a good amount of strategy, but you can play in an hour once you know what you're doing. Clank Catacombs, check it out. This one's going to come out direct to retail in late October. So, I mean, all of these games are worth checking out. Some of these are coming out to crowdfunding sites. Some of them are coming out direct to retail, but they're all coming out decently soon, so you should check them out. Those are my top 10 games from Gen Con that will be coming out soon. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. You know, I appreciate all the views and the comments and things like that. We're friends together.